we are just religious bigots. Excuse me. I believe, at least to some extent, some of the zeal of these people is driven by a deep hurt from feelings of being judged and rejected in their ignorance about the love of God and His way as a Christian. So, in 2 minutes or less, Stephanie.
The gospel. Wow, yeah, that is an excellent question. And we are Family Policy Alliance, Debbie, and I think most everyone up here, work out of a deep sense of biblical principles. We want to share truth with compassion and love. We truly believe that teens struggling with gender identity and other issues do need support. We do need to rally around them and find ways to address what it is they're going through. What are ways that we can address that are less harmful than what the left is pushing upon our children? We don't think sterilization and castration of body mutilating surgery is the answer. That is causing problems, hasn't been proven to be effective, and in some studies has shown to increase suicidal thoughts. So the truth is that it is harming you more. We truly, out of compassion and love for you as a person, we're not against you, we don't hate you, we think that this is hurting you, and we're standing against that because we want to find the truthful, compassionate way to help you, and also protect our rights, but it's really about making sure that we're not spreading harm. And I think that's the gospel message as well. You can show compassionate truth without, throwing Bible verses at people, and that's what we do, compassionate truth. Hopefully that answers the question a little bit.
Thank you, thanks so much. Okay, Debbie, this is for you, the $1,000,000 question. How do we get our pastors to get involved in these cultural issues? My pastor is not comfortable doing this.
Well, mine's not either, and it makes me sad, but I'm in his church. So my role is to be a support to him. Folks, pastors are as nervous as we are about this, and they have a little bit more on their plate because they know we all depend on them. The closer you get, the more supportive you are, the more that you're willing to stand in the gap and bring them truth. It's just like those that we're reaching out to that oppose what we're doing. Our pastors need to know that when they take a stand, we've got their back. Because we may tell them to take a stand and they listen to us. Actually, I'm going to tell you a story what happened to me. It happened on the National Day of Prayer. My pastor called me, and it was the year that civil unions passed in Colorado. My pastor said, hey, I really want to pray for those that stood up for marriage. Can you give me their names? I want to put them out on the National Day of Prayer. So he printed a list of all the names. Well, it's really easy for me to pull the names because every Democrat voted for civil unions and every Republican voted against civil unions. So I was like, well, there we go. So I gave him a list. He got one phone call of a complaint. Somebody called and said, why are you supporting Republicans and not Democrats? So he called me and said, Debbie, where are the Democrats on this list? I said, you know what, they all voted for civil unions. That was pretty obvious they didn't support marriage. He said, oh, well, I got a complaint. I said, send them to me. I'll tell them the truth. I don't have a problem with that. He said, no, I wouldn't want to do that. I'm the pastor. And he never got involved again. Folks, we need to rally our troops and go in a group and support our pastors. They are looking to us for support. Let's make sure that, yes, we tell them the truth, yes, we ask them to stand, yes, we bring them resources, but we also bring them support.
Thank you, Debbie. And if I could just interject here, I'm not a speaker, but I'm going to make a shameless plug for Church for All Nations. And our pastor, Pastor Mark Howard. He has boldly and courageously taken a stand as a pastor and recognizes the role and the responsibilities that pastors do have. Black Robe Regiment, for those of you that are familiar with history, took off their robes and had their military garb underneath and led the charge. And a lot of our documents, our founding documents, are founded on what pastors preached during those times. And so, yeah, he's not the only one doing this, but he certainly is leading the charge in Colorado Springs. And those of us that worship there are very, very grateful for a pastor that gets it, and not only gets it, but gives us permission to do these kind of things and stand for these kind of things. And as Dave referred to, or referenced earlier, takes some of the pressure off of them and lets us do this, those of us that feel called to participate and engage and call others into engagement with us. So, yeah. I hope he hears this someday, because he's awesome. He really is, and we are very grateful for him. And Debbie, real quick, can they bring signs on Wednesday?
You can. We've actually got a list of signs. We definitely want you to say, and and I've drawn a complete blank, so there you go. You're going to have to email me. I've got cards back on the table, and I'll give you those suggested signs. We want to look like we're all together, and that's why we have suggestions for what to put on your signs. So, yep, we can sure put the PWP too, and that would be awesome, but please show up. Bring your friends. Folks, it'd be awful if we show up and have 40 people, and then our opposition says, oh, yeah, only 40 people in Colorado care about this one.
Okay, we really need to bring this to a close. Somebody did ask if there's going to be other meetings such as this, and we are hoping to be able to do so. That's one of the reasons why we've got that donation basket out for those of you that came in late at the back table. If you'd like to donate so that we can hold other meetings like this, that would be awesome. And then with that, you will get that cool bumper sticker for your car that says PWP, Parents with Pitchforks. John's holding up over there. Thank you. And you can be a charter member of this cutting-edge organization that we believe is going to make a difference in Colorado. And then one other question for Senator Lundberg, because this speaks to the future and things that we can start doing now in terms of changing what's happening up in Denver. Politics is, without laws, good laws, we're really at a disadvantage. Had we won the Senate majority in November, we would not be here today to this degree that we are. If we had taken the majority, but because people failed to vote, because they failed to understand the issue at stake and a lot of other things which we won't get into, we are here today with a minority in the House, the Senate, and of course the governorship. So the question, Senator, is how do we identify Senate seats in the future that are strategic, that can turn this state around in 2020? First of all, do you agree that 2020 is still a critical election for the state of Colorado, and then what do we do about it?
I sometimes wonder if 2020 is not going to be that pivotal election. You hear this every election cycle. This is the most important. But honestly, if we don't turn it around in Colorado in 2020, and the key is the Senate. Yeah, I'm under no real illusions that A, we're not going to be voting on the governor. B, the House is just a wide majority difference. But in the Senate, it's a 2-vote difference. And it can be, and we've seen this in the past, where it can be affected. So it'll boil down to probably 4 or 5 races around the state. And we will need a focused, concerted effort on those races to make that difference. You have to get involved. You have to get involved right here and now. I believe that 1036 or 1032 is the bill that is the rallying point at this point. Now, hang on. They've got a couple of months to go, and there could be a lot more. But you need to do what you can do. And let me give you just a couple of really quick things. Keith King is down in the front row here and gave me a petition that he's put together urging the League of Charter Schools to take a stand in a positive one. Now, I know they've actually talked on this, and they've decided that they're not going to take a stand. But they need to take that stand. There's a petition you can get involved in right now. Sign it. I'm sure you've got copies here. And their annual meeting is this week, so the time is now on this point. I'll give you another reference point. I publish a newsletter on email every week during the session and intermittently elsewhere. Give me your email address. Go to kevinlundberg.com and do that. But get engaged, because yes, we can make that difference, and yes, we have to. And that's not even discussing at the national level where we're really on a pivot point. You'll have to have a whole week's worth of meetings on that one. But this is the time and the place right here and now, and the non-rally, right, at the Capitol that Debbie is talking about on Wednesday, I believe will be pivotal. I've seen this happen before. When the D's brought forth all their gun bills, and people showed up, and literally there were cars driving around the Capitol honking their horn for hours because they were so frustrated as what they knew was happening inside of that building. Things did change. It didn't change on that day, but it did change, and it did amount to the Senate being flipped. Didn't cure everything, but boy, I want to tell you, we made great strides because people did get involved and engaged. Yes, we need that, but ultimately, I agree with what we've heard here, that it's not political decisions that will really change it. It's the hearts of everyone in this state. I'm still there on the front lines doing what I can because I know we can make that difference. I know you can make that difference. I know I'm talking to the most committed people that showed up on a difficult morning like this. Yes, don't stop now. We've got to bring thousands of people down to the Capitol and make that difference and then carry that through to the next election, because that's when the change will actually make it politically.
Thank you so much. And for those of you that would like more information too on flipping the Senate in 2020, there's going to be a sign-up sheet just as you go down the first table on the left. If you want some information on that, it's with 912. That's going to be one of our focuses this next year, is flipping the Senate 2020. So please sign up and we will keep you abreast of what's going on there as well. Debbie, you have one more comment?
All right, 3 years ago, they tried to reclassify abortion in our state and actually call it health care, meaning you could not actually speak against it again. We were down in the Senate. We didn't have the votes. It looked like it was going to sail through. People showed up in droves. In fact, they showed up in the thousands, so much so that the Democrat sponsor of that bill got sick and went home that day, so they didn't vote. Guess what? They brought it back the next day because they had to vote on it. And we thought, well, doggone it, how are we going to get so many people out again? But you know what? They showed up. That did not pass in the state of Colorado when we didn't have the votes to stop it, because the power of God came with his people when they showed up at the Capitol. Folks, this is our watch. Let's do it again.
Amen. Thanks. I know we're 15 minutes over, but actually we're right on time because we started 15 minutes late. That's in the constitution. So we're not doing too badly, but it's nice to see Senator King here, and he would like to share a word with you.
I served on the Colorado League Charter School Board for 14 years, and tomorrow, Monday, I'm meeting with Ben Lindquist and Dan Schauer of the League to say they need to take a position to oppose us. That's the executive director of the League, and that's the legislative liaison to the legislature. Those two people I'm meeting with Monday. I have a petition here that says I want them to go from neutral to going to oppose. And they cannot stay neutral on this bill because there are so many things in this bill that are so bad. And I want to have some petitions that I can sign, and then I want to take it to the League meeting on Thursday. And I'm sticking my neck out to do this to make sure that everybody knows what that bill is and that we need to oppose it. And I'm trying to rally charter schools around the state of Colorado to oppose this bill and come into the meeting at the League and say we have to oppose it. So I'm going to ask for them to have a special session dedicated to this at the League meeting on Thursday, where they allow us to have a conversation about how bad 1032 is and how they should oppose it. I have 300 of these petitions back here. If you want to take them and take them to your church and call me by noon on Monday. If I could have those, I'll be able to give them some evidence of some people that are opposing this. And so if you want to do that, this would be something that you can do this weekend at your church. And I have 300 of them back there I made up. If you want to copy more of them, that's fine. But this will give you some chance to get something done.
What Keith is talking about is so important, because if the House and the Senate go ahead and pass this, I'm Peggy Littleton, and I served on the Colorado State Board of Education with Jared Polis. Jared Polis is in favor of charter schools, but without the opposition of the Colorado League of Charter Schools against this bill, Jared has nothing to stand on. Our governor has nothing to go, but I'm for charter schools and the league opposes this. We've backed him into a corner without any tools. We've got to make sure that we sign this, that we've got to make sure that the Colorado League of Charter Schools will stand up and oppose this bill.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. And please feel free to visit these tables. We encourage you to do so. And remember that each one of you can make a difference. This is not just an informational meeting only. This is just to get your ideas and your creativity and your passions stirred so that you can go out and do something and make a difference, because this is all of ours. This issue is for all of us, and it involves all of us. So thank you again to all the wonderful speakers. We just give them another round of applause. Thank you a lot, and have a great rest of your day. Be safe.
We need to talk to Keith about that. Yeah. It's the only way you're going to get numbers.
Hey, John.
Where'd you go?
Are you recording still?
Your scarf, sir. Sir.